I mean, I think that every single time I forgot how much I did not like about being pregnant, and I have 4 kids. So like your brain's ability to be like, that was good. We'll just put that in the back. And then pregnant again. And it's like, oh, haha, fooled you. This is still brutal. But yeah, it's true. I think it's true. Like that's why otherwise people would only have 1 kid.
Yeah.
And also the other blessing is like before you have kids and people try and tell you what it's like to have kids, you live in that space of like, but that won't be me.
Yeah.
And everyone who has kids is like, haha, it will be you. Go ahead, try it out. And then you have kids and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the And Both podcast. Here we are going to hear from moms and those in motherhood that are doing the thing that works for them. They are honoring themselves alongside the all-encompassing role and level of expectation that is modern motherhood. And we are going to hear from as many different people as possible in their own experience. So you can find people to relate to. You can hear stories that will make you laugh, make you cry, all of the above, and that we will come together as a community to support one another in a way that is holistic and honoring of the woman and the mother as a whole. Hello and welcome back to the And Both podcast. I am here today with Dr. Danielle. She is the founder of Honey. She is a mom. She is in the Air Force. She is an OBGYN. She has a list of things a million miles long, which are all interconnected. And I can't wait to hear how all of that fits together. But welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw you submit your bio because it's just fascinating to me. So I cannot wait to get into it. How about if we start with you introducing everyone to Honey and how that came to be and what you do there?
So Honey was born from my postpartum experience. I was right on the tail end, about to cross the 12-month mark, my little one's birthday. And I just sat and reflected on my experience being under the TRICARE system and just witnessing the gaps in care, at least for those who are under a universal insurance system. And so I set myself on a path to try to fix, the system and rectify those gaps and created Honey to do just that. It's a company that aims to support comprehensively moms and dads in the postpartum space by providing medical education, coaching that is proactive and preventative, not just reactive, which is how the current postpartum care system is currently.
Yeah, it's set up that way right now. The whole healthcare system is reactive. That's the curse of it all, I feel like, in a big way. Yeah. And so Honey has been around for a couple of years now. No? You
I wish.
When did you launch?
Yeah. So the idea came September 2023. Website went up December 23 and officially started trying to figure things out, marketing, beta testing in January of this year.
Oh, nice. Well, I feel like it's been around forever because it's such a needed thing. It's funny because we were talking about this before we started recording. So my background is in OT, and we would have, all the different types of insurances come through the hospital. And I remember like the TRICARE, Martin's Point, it was like, oh, this is the good insurance for like an adult. So the fact that it was like, they can't be grouped. They have to they have huge minimum requirements of hours for therapy and things like that. So like as a full grown adult who needs help, it's a great insurance. But when it comes to the other end of the spectrum where you're talking about babies and postpartum and things like that, there's still this huge gap.
Definitely. So when you're getting care on a medical campus or sorry, in a military medical system. So I am in Washington, D.C. The closest hospital to me is Walter Reed. So when you're getting OBGYN care, postpartum care, labor and delivery care on base, your care is absolutely fantastic. However, I got my care off base because during that time we were having shortages in nurses in the hospital. And so they were referring a lot of patients out into civilian practices. So I got my postpartum care, amongst all my other civilian counterparts. So TRICARE in the civilian world is treated just like Medicaid. Some people accept it, some people don't. I would say the majority don't. And just navigating it within that space is really hard. And then, yeah, I could go on and on. Yeah.
It's a good and long road to go down.
Yeah.
And so how old are your kids? Because you have two.
Just one. Oh, I would love to. Don't. My husband, we're like trying to navigate that conversation. I just have one, Emery. She's 16 months.
Oh, so you are in the thick of it with a new baby toddler situation and a new baby toddler practice and a new, like, all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a huge juggle. So how does that look like for you outside of mom and all of the other roles that you have? What does
Yeah, you have to strike a balance, and you really have to, like, first and foremost, every single day I wake up, I am Emery's mom. And I am Bryant's wife. So those are my two like biggest priorities, and everything else comes after that. And so I'm separating from the military pretty soon in June. And so my life after the military, I'm being very intentional about how I'm setting things up. My work, honey, is definitely my passion, but I don't want it to be what I'm focusing on, 90% of my day. So I just have to be very strategic and make sure that I'm prioritizing, what's important to me, which are those two people. And then, hopefully I have enough room to get the other things done. I think in the past, I was focusing on work and like school and putting all my energy there. And then I was hoping that I had enough energy for the rest of the things after. I'm just flipping the order.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel like that? Because you're going the postpartum care and pieces like that. Like, is the goal to grow honey to a point where it's more hands off piece, or is it to always sort of like be right in the mix of it
For like postpartum care?
Yeah, for your role in it. Because sometimes I feel like people start businesses when their kids are young or when they're going into the age where they would like to start a family and things like that, where they're like, I want to do this now so that I can set it up to be hands off. Or it's like, I'm going to go into it, I'm going to stay in it, and I'm going to be like in the nitty gritty of it forever and ever. And so like how you approach that looks different.
Definitely. No, I'm setting it up to be an exit in about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of hard work. And I mean, this is the first business that I've started. I already have an idea for a number two, but I just want to fix the gaps, like I said, in postpartum care. I want it to be more like long-term, more comprehensive, include the dad. It needs to be a family approach, not just a mom approach. And like simultaneously, I want to change medical education in terms of postpartum care. And then once I've done that, then I just kind of want to relax.
And so what are some of the gaps that you've noticed? Like, what are some of the big pillars that Honey is aiming to address for postpartum moms and dads?
Yeah. So what my 4 pillars are: infant care, physical recovery, mental wellness, and intimacy. For infant care, the issue that I see in our system right now is that we are told, when I was preparing for postpartum at least, I got the feeling that I need to buy all these things. I need to buy this baby care, that baby care, and everything will be totally fine if I have all the things. And that is not true whatsoever. So the infant care is really just invoking confidence in the mom and the dad, their skills, feeling confident with infant sleeping, for mom specifically, with like breastfeeding and how she's approaching nutrition. It's really just, you know, saying you got this, providing the right resources that are affordable so that they can walk confidently as things quickly change, from month 0 to 12. Mental wellness, I think that there's a lot of like trials and tribulations in regards to mental wellness for the mom, but most definitely for the dad too, which I feel like we forget. So it's just enhancing communication as you're dealing with those postpartum challenges. That's what we're really trying to focus on, as well as providing tech to help parents cope with all the things that they're dealing with. Intimacy, I feel like, is not covered at all. I think we can easily forget that, if you have a partner, we need to like work on our relationship too and make sure it's not fallen to the wayside. And physical recovery, I feel like the way that moms are at least taught to introduce exercise is like all wrong. I feel like the notion is you can't start until 6 weeks postpartum, and that's not necessarily the case. So it's just like, again, rectifying some things, fixing some things, and building confidence in some areas. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
I love it. So if somebody say they join, they're like, this is exactly what I need. I feel like I live in like maybe a kind of a dead zone when it comes to like resources or options and things like that. Like what are they courses? Are they like one-to-one coaching? Like what does it look like when you have a new person join Honey?
Yeah. So when they join, so they can join the community for free. And with the community, they get peer-to-peer support. They get interaction with the coaches, which are just health experts. So we have pelvic floor physical therapists, parenting coaches, sleep coaches, OBGYNs, dietitians. So they get interaction there. And they also get free master classes within the community where they learn skills. And then if they want to join the membership, that's where they get the group coaching in the 4 pillars, or they get access to the course. The course is 11 modules. It's super comprehensive. And it's really meant for them to identify, a resource that they need right now for the particular challenge that they have right now. So if they want to learn more about, nutrition in regards to lactation, they go to that module, they learn. And then they can go back to their community for that peer-to-peer support to ask questions for clarification. The community, like I said, is free. The membership with the group coaching in the course is $49.99 a month, and they can cancel anytime.
That's cool. I like the idea of having like an option for people to like just come and get quick kind of tips, and then also having the ability to have more in-depth. 11 modules. That's a big course. I think I've recorded a course that has 6 modules. One is 5 and one is 6. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is so much of myself.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I'm not done with it. Like I kind of I made it at the end of my postpartum journey, and I just like put down everything that was fresh in my mind of like, what did I need?
Smart.
But even now, like I have identified more areas to like kind of delve into. So yeah, it's not meant for someone to like do in one day. It's like because your journey is different at different points. I feel like when I was at months 0 to 3, it was all about infant care, just learning how to be a mom when I was a first time mom. And then I would say around 3 months, it was okay, let me figure out how to get back to exercising consistently. And then when I went back to work, I just put my self-care to the side. And I'm only now just starting to get back into like really focusing on me, making sure that I'm eating healthy. And I'm 16 months out from delivery. So it's hard. And so, yeah, just to reiterate, not meant to get it all in one session.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's impossibly hard, whether you have one kid or more kids. It's just, and also the, to underscore it, 15 times with all the different rainbows of pens is like every single person is going to have a different experience. And also every single person is going to have a different experience with every single kid.
Yep.
I got that right between the eyes with my last baby. I was like, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. I've done this before. It's going to be great. No, I did not pencil in pandemic on that one. That was not my bingo card for 2020. But that's like, you realize like I had a system in place, right? Of like walking through these steps, but then something like this giant wrench gets thrown in it and you're like, oh, I forgot about all of these other pieces. So I think it's really such a smart idea to start like right when it's fresh for you to like dump it in there, because there's so many things that you forget along the way.
Yes. I noticed that when I like talk to moms specifically who, have a 2 or 3-year-old, and I was asking them questions about like when I was, in the thick of it, and they make comments like that. Like I totally forgot. Like, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think our brain is smart to have us easily forget how hard those first 12 weeks are specifically. Otherwise, I don't know. I think that, I don't know, as I'm struggling with trying to decide whether I want a number 2, yeah, I just appreciate our brain for allowing us to kind of focus on the bright and shiny things, which is how cute our kids are, how amazing they are, and just kind of keep going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that every single time I forgot how much I did not like about being pregnant, and I have 4 kids. So like your brain's ability to be like, that was good, we'll just put that in the back, and then pregnant again, and it's like, oh, haha, fooled you. This is still brutal. But yeah, it's true. I think it's true. Like that's why otherwise people would only have 1 kid.
Yeah.
And also the other blessing is like before you have kids and people try and tell you what it's like to have kids, you live in that space of like, but that won't be me.
Yeah.
And everyone who has kids is like, haha, it will be you. Go ahead, try it out. And then you have kids and you're like, oh, yeah, that's right.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I love that the phrase, everyone's a perfect parent until you have children. It's like, that's how it works.
It is.
So and it has to work that way, right? Like otherwise we would not have more people in this world. Like our population would be like 7 because it's so hard. It is so impossibly hard, and it's so upside down and sideways from like day to day, month to month, and like especially when you're in the phase that you're in right now where like your daughter is undoubtedly like running around and like very active and doing things and engaged and stuff like that. But like you're trying to keep her from like falling down the stairs.
1000%. Yep.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, dangerous things all the time. That's just, it's like to live in the land of like bubble wrap or something. But like, yeah, like, 6 months, you're like, I'm trying not to have you choke. I'm trying not to have you like smash your head. I'm trying not to have you. It's just like this like chaos moving through the world phrase.
Oh my gosh. The image of Emery that will not be erased from my mind right now, at least, happened this weekend. We have a humidifier, and the humidifier has 2 attachments, the actual humidifier and then the plug that goes from the wall to the little thing that gives it power. Mm-hmm. She took the thing that gives it power and she was like a spaghetti, like a spaghetti noodle. She was about to put it in her mouth, and my husband was like, no. But that kind of like seriously summarizes, toddlerhood.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not like you guys are like down the street, like hanging out with friends. Like you're in the actual room and you're like, wait, what? Like everything's a test all the time. You're like, am I missing something? Like I was just going to go to the bathroom and you were going to chew on that cord.
Yeah.
Like what is happening here?
You have to give yourself grace. Like you have to. And I think that's what I struggled with too. Immediately postpartum, I was really that type A person that needed to be in control. everything doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but I try really hard for it to be. And then Emory came, and I I didn't quickly realize that was a part of my struggle. I slowly realized that, things, you just have to accept things for what they are. You can try your best, and your best is good enough, I promise. And yeah, just give yourself a little bit of grace. So that was a
Yeah.
learn for me.
Well, and I think too, like the infant care piece that you're putting in there is so important because there is this like going into having a baby where you're like, I'm like, I do all of these things perfectly well right now or perfectly. And I can like check all the boxes and I can be super productive and I can achieve the things I want and I set these big goals. And so in order for me to continue this like stream of perfection into parenthood, I have to buy the right stroller. I have to buy the right swaddles. I have to my nursery has to look like Pinterest just like exploded in here.
Yeah.
And then I will be doing it right.
Yeah. We got to get rid of that culture. I hate it. I literally hate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that is consumerism at its finest. And it's picking on the most vulnerable population. And I'm totally sick of it. Like,
Mm-hmm. I have an 11-year-old. My oldest is 11, and she is now getting into that phase where, again, kids growing up these days, they don't have to watch like 3 minutes of cartoons in the middle of a show. So like if a cartoon comes on, they're like, "What is this? What is wrong?" And you're like, "No, it's a commercial in the middle." So it's like someone's trying to sell you something. But like her tastes have changed in the things that she watches. Like she has younger siblings, so like sometimes Saturday looks like Bluey and sometimes it looks like other things. And like as the commercials are coming on for like creams and serums and like this and this and this, she's like, "Mom, what is this?" I'm like, "This is how advertising is done towards women predominantly." It's like it starts out with, "Here's all the things that are wrong with you. Don't you feel bad about yourself because all these things are wrong with you? We have the only solution that will make you whole.
yeah.
And so therefore, for the low, low price of whatever it is you got, we will make you whole." And it's like, this is it. This is the marketing that's done to women in the beauty industry, the marketing that's done to women in careers, the marketing that's done to women in motherhood and like this experience.
Yep. Let's get rid of it.
It's backwards. Like you're doing a good job. If your kid is breathing, if your kid is like, if you have done your very, very best, if you are like I think the measure of success when it comes to parenthood is if you are able to ask for help. If
Yes.
you are able to say, "I don't know the answer." If you are to yourself, to the people around you, to your kid. Like if you can say to your kid, "I don't necessarily know the answer." And I'm running a million miles an hour into that right now with the like preteen situation. But like especially in the beginning, like I don't know. It's just this idea like everyone comes around and they're like, "Well, you are a mom now." And so like motherhood is a natural instinct and you know all of this because you have all of the like components that you need in order to have a child.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
purchased all the things. You had a baby registry. Like, aren't you?
Yeah.
I thought you were ready.
Yeah. And you're like, "I bought the thing, but I don't even know how to put the thing on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's upside down. It's sideways. It's whatever." But I think too, like the important part of that is that's when that like tunneling starts where you're feeling like, "I don't know what I need to be doing. I don't know how I need to do this, but I have all of these people around me who are telling me that if I just do this thing, buy this thing, whatever, then I will be fine." But then you cut off the opportunity to ask for help and you cut
Yep.
off the opportunity to say, "This sucks." Like,
Yeah.
not what I thought I was getting out of the deal. And then that's what happens too when you have a partner and you're like, "I'm supposed to be the one, like I'm supposed to be the mom. I'm supposed to know all the answer. I'm the last line of defense." And then you end up it's all connected. It's all just like a
Shit show.
web. Big giant shit show. If that may be the title of this episode. Let's get out of the shit show and
No, I mean, that was the perfect summary. And that is why I, again, created Honey. Just, it shouldn't be like that. There should be more of an opportunity to ask for help about anything, and even the most taboo things, specifically intimacy. But in regards to infant care, which is that first and foremost, like, thing that we're struggling with, let's get out of this idea that, yes, we bought all these things, we're prepared. Like, sometimes you're just not, and that's okay. Like, ask for help. And like, I also, like, it's completely virtual. And so for my military moms who are, are in the middle of Japan and they are not near family at all, like, I empathize with them even more. There are even some military moms, specifically those in the Navy, where the husband or the partner is just, deployed after 4 weeks postpartum. And then the mom is there with the 4-week-old by herself, again, not surrounded by family, trying to figure things out. That is miserable. That is the definition of misery to me. I don't know, like, after going back to work and just like seeing, like, experiencing postpartum and then seeing my patients dealing with that type of social situation, I was just like, we gotta figure something out. And I need the government to kind of like understand that this is a thing, because right now, when I look at the different contracts that are available for mental health, there's nothing that even addresses postpartum. They're like not on the same page with me. I need to get them on the same page that we aren't doing right by our military families if we're not focusing on one of the most challenging aspects that a family can go through within their life cycle, which is postpartum.
And I think too, it's always important, like the military it's not a litmus test, but I feel like the care and the strategy that the government puts towards the military oftentimes ends up being the parting of the seas that the general public needs. So it's like when I did post professional work with traumatic brain injury, blast injury survivors for Iraq and Afghanistan coming home and reintegrating into community. So I love the military. I love the work that they do. And the stuff that they were doing at the time, this was in 2010, was like cutting edge because there was this giant wave of people that had this going on, right? So then now it's 15 years later that since these big studies started coming out, since these big programs started to get developed, and they were talking about all of these aspects of like mental health and physical health and cognitive rehab and things like that, that it has trickled back into the general population. So all that to say, I totally agree. Like, if we can start with the military because it is a population that is easily identified by the government, right? Like, that you sign a contract with the federal government, you sign, all sorts of things, but you are wedded to them for a certain period of time. You have a responsibility on your end, and they also have a responsibility on their end. And so when they take that responsibility and they say, okay, we are the head, we have all of these people who have signed contracts to do incredible things in service of this country. Oh, it's not just men who are between the ages of 25 and 40. They also have spouses. They are also women. They are also people who have children. They are also all of this stuff. So, like, in order to take care of our military as a whole, it's not taking care of one component. It is taking care of all of those pieces. And since we are the federal government, let's start piloting these programs, knowing that you have direct places to drop in, because you're not trying to drop a program into like the Midwest where you hope somebody comes, like, and there's no one around. Like, you can drop a program into Walter Reed.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people there because there are always going to be people there.
Yeah.
And then from there, the ripple effect out is huge. So I think that it's an incredible targeted direct way to influence the greater good of motherhood and family by starting where you're starting. And I just think it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. It's definitely a task, because like I started out with a really great idea, but with business, it's like marketing and promoting and like that. I don't know anything about that. I just know how to like be a a reasonable OBGYN. So it's a learning curve. But I'm hoping to do some good through networking, through learning from other people, and just, yeah, growing and also having more time once I get out of the military. Sorry, love the military, but I need a little bit of time back to get this done.
Yeah. So is your partner in the military as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so will they be in the military when you are out?
Yeah, Bryant, he has a normal job, but he's a reservist. And I'm actually going to
Okay.
switch to reserves as well because I just don't want to fully leave. So he actually, his job is really cool. He like loads planes and drones and stuff. He's actually more deployable than me. So, over the next couple of years while we're both still in, he has the highest potential to like go to various places. He's going to Germany in 2 weeks. Actually, this Friday, he's leaving for Germany. So, yeah.
Does he deploy? Do either of you deploy out of country, or have you in the last?
I haven't. I've been tagged to a military training facility, Walter Reed. So I have, as Air Force, I haven't deployed as much as he has. We moved to DC in 2020. So for 2021, he was in Jordan doing some like special things over there. So yeah, out of our two jobs, he's the one that will probably be doing the cooler things over the next couple of years in foreign countries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do a cool thing. Like you deliver babies. So like the military depends on you. Whether they want it or not. They really yeah, there'll always be babies. And you can load a drone, but how many people can deliver a baby? Just saying. And so how do you manage that, like when he goes on Friday? Like how is that going to look for work, for Honey, for you? Like how does that all what's that juggle?
It's a struggle. It is a struggle because
Mm-hmm.
we don't live, the military, they said you are living in, the DMV area. So since 2020, we, have lived here. We love it. We've gained a community, but initially, like we didn't have any family, not too many friends here. And I didn't really, before having Emory, I didn't really realize how important community is. Having like reliable people that can help you out, that's like really important. So when he actually did January, February, in early March, he was gone as well doing like some other military stuff. So it was just me. I was a single mom for about 12 weeks. And it was rough, but we have a really good support system. We gained a really good support system. So when I'm on call, like overnight, I have a person that can call to go pick Emery up from daycare or drop Emery off to daycare or stay with her at home overnight. It's hard, but figured it out.
Yeah. And so does she do daycare at the hospital?
No, she does daycare right down the street from me. It's like a minute drive.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, it's, oh my gosh. Not trauma, but it's like bordering that. Like just having to do things alone. And I'm saying alone, like my husband is definitely there mentally supporting me and rooting for me, but just the day to day, like coordination, making sure that the ball isn't dropped because there's huge consequences if it does get dropped. It's just like a very brutal mental challenge, but we got through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really important piece too. Like a big part of what you're doing with Honey, and and going on and talking about it is like, I think that too is really important. That often gets overlooked, right? Like you can start the company and launch the program and the courses and things like that, but until the conversations really happen, that's when people are like, that sounds lovely, I'll go on and see that, versus people being able to be like, I also, even if they aren't in the military, it's like my spouse travels for this, or they're placed here, or things like that. Like, it's hard. It is incredibly hard. And you don't have, like, when you're, if you're moving around a bunch and you have to like grow that community, but you also have to grow that community at such a rapid pace to like to be able to say like, hi, could you pick up the most precious thing that I have in the world and like go here or whatever. And like, it's huge.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's in part why I am pretty, like, we have the option of moving back home, closer to home, but I kind of don't want to, because like when you find someone that you really trust to take care of your child, and you know that you have evidence that they do it really well, like, I don't want to leave that. So we're just going to sit tight for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus too, like when you talk about like bandwidth, when it comes to like things you can do, you've launched this amazing idea and you're putting it out in the world and really trying to like straddle the line between civilian and military and like bring a huge piece of education and support to as many people as possible. Then you get like loaded into the logistics of trying to figure out how to move and find a new this and find a new that. And it's just like pushing that along.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so many things. There's too many decisions that have to be made, and there's too many balls in the air.
Too many balls. Yeah. They're just falling on me. It's fine. I can move out of the way or dodge them. Yeah.
You sound like a mom who has like just like, it's like everything is due, right? Like everything, like all the lights are flashing and you're like, you know what? Until I can grow that other hand to be able to like make lunch while like, doing my job, while answering an email, while doing this, all of that, like it's just going to have to not.
Yeah. And that is growth. Like when I got to that point, I feel so liberated. Like, it's fine.
That's that like the second half of your life begins when you no longer like, oh my gosh. I remember my daughter, when I came home from the hospital with my oldest, I made a list. I made this like Post-it list and I stuck it on the counter, and it was like all the things I was going to do while she was sleeping. Cause I'd been in the hospital for 2 days. So therefore like I had a list of things to do, but I really didn't. And I was like, I'm going to do all these things. 2 weeks later, not a single thing crossed off the list.
Yeah.
And I left it there as a reminder of like, well, we can't all get to the list.
Yeah, it's true. I was the same way. And my husband's feedback for me, afterwards was, Danielle, like when Emery was sleeping, you probably should have just slept more. Like, relax. Take a nap.
Yeah.
So, right.
You're like, okay, well, now I'm going to head a nap and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So for people out there who are like, hold on a second, I feel like I need this, and I think it's an even bigger like win in the world if they're like, I have a friend who is having a baby. I have already had a baby and I know what is meeting me at the end of labor and delivery. Now I would like to help my friend because I tell my friend this is what it's going to be like, but she doesn't believe me. How do people get you into that person's space? How do they find you? All of that.
I love that. So I would recommend that they go to my website, hellohoneyteam.com. And I want you to tell your friend to just download our guide just on some things that gives you quick tips on how to prepare for postpartum, specifically in regards to childcare, reducing exercise, et cetera, et cetera. So I would tell them to download the guide. And then that just puts them on our email list. And then they'll also get access or link to our community, which is free. and they'll get articles that, again, go over all these different good things about postpartum, just providing medical education. So I think that's a good way, a low stakes, low cost way to be within the honey realm. And then whenever they're ready, whenever they feel a little antsy, they can just tap in to our membership whenever they need it. If they don't need it, it's fine. But at least they'll have the community of support there through the health experts that we have, through fellow moms, fellow dads all across this nation. They'll at least have that lifeline, the peer-to-peer support if they need it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, there was two questions that I forgot earlier that I now remember. Do you have a specific space inside of Honey for dads?
Mm-hmm.
So that they have a separate, not necessarily separate, dads can only be in this area, but is there a space for them to separately be able to ask questions and find members?
Yep. And that community space is free as well. There's a dad-specific support group, and then there's a mom-specific support group, and then there's the feeds that are focused on those 4 pillars as well.
I really I couldn't love this thing more. I could not love the idea. And so, I really like the idea of having that conversation before you are feeling like your hair is on fire. And so having a way for people to come into the community without necessarily knowing what is going on. So people that are trying to buy all the things or make sure all the boxes are checked, they have an opportunity to join, to maybe ask people who are I wish I knew this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks is a whole different world when you are in the 0 to 3 month span of postpartum.
Yeah. What's really nice is that members, they can tag themselves with the age of their newborn. And certainly the idea, if you have members from 0 to 12 months, the veterans, if you will, who have the 9 to 12-month-old, they're going to be really great mentors for those who are in the thick of it. That's 0 to 12 weeks of age for their newborn.
Nice. And how did you find, the other question I forgot, how did you find the experts and the people to be on Honey with you? Where did those guys come from?
Yeah. So divine intervention, I guess, I don't know. For instance, Rachel, it was at Emery's, I think, 3-month-old visit at our pediatrician at Children's in DC. We did a consult with her, and she was recommended by our pediatrician. We did a virtual visit where she helped me kind of navigate and give Emery a balanced diet as we were transitioning from, strictly breastfeeding to solid foods. And I reached out to her after that visit a couple of weeks later. It's hey, you were absolutely phenomenal. What do you think about this? And she was absolutely, this is my mission. I love doing this type of thing. I love helping moms. So I met all of these people individually as a mom, and I really believe in how they practiced, their expertise. And so, yeah, I asked them to be part of the team, and they said yes.
That's awesome. I love it. It's the idea of you first experience, it wasn't a sales thing, right? You don't go out and you're hey, I need this box checked. It's I had this need. You were the person that answered the question, the call, the whatever it is. And then I left feeling a certain way that was 2 thumbs up and sparkles and unicorns. I mean, because that's really the feeling that you get when you're a mom and you ask a question and somebody answers a question and you feel like you can fully inhale and exhale, right? It's sparkles, unicorns, fireworks. Okay, here we go. But you have that feeling of relief. And then to say, hey, you did that for me. So do you want to do this for other people? Because I'm building this really cool thing.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are going to build that really cool thing.
Exactly. For in different shapes or forms, with all of the people who are on the team, I've worked with them in some type of way. Janelle, for instance, she's a midwife that I trained when I was training as a resident in OB/GYN in Charleston. She was one of the nurses that I worked with, and she took care of postpartum moms, and she was a labor and delivery nurse. So I know how she works. I love her dearly. So Yeah, I have relationships with all of these people, and they, most importantly, believe in the mission, and they see the gaps that exist, and they want help in fixing that.
That's awesome. Well, I hope really like that this just explodes. I hope the whole thing is like unbelievably big. It's just it is such a overlooked area of need, and I think that the people that listen to this podcast are people that are in this space of like, I am a person, I need to figure out how to get back to being a person. And sometimes it happens when you're 2 weeks postpartum where you're like, this isn't the way I envision this. Sometimes it's 10 years postpartum where you're like, I was in a black hole of like pouring out and pouring and pouring. And so like having places like this where you can start the conversation early, where you can be there in the background to say there's a connection here and you choose what level of depth you want in that connection is an incredible resource for a population of people that unfortunately in this day and age don't have resources.
Yep.
No matter what. We just don't have the resources in general for women and moms today that existed years and years ago, or the community or the conversation or all of those things. So I seriously applaud you, standing ovation style, for what you're doing.
Yeah. I appreciate the support, most definitely.
Yeah. All right. So one last time, because I'm gonna put everything in the show notes, but in case you are someone like me who listens to stuff and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna remember that. And then I think about it and then I have to go back and look. But tell everybody how they can reach out to you, how they can get involved with Honey. And also I'm gonna put this out there. If you are somebody who is in that space where you're like, this is an area that I notice, this is a gap that I have, that's like in service of the beta that you're doing. It's like, reach out. Like, how do people reach out to you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, that's at Hello Honey Team. The website is hellohoneyteam.com. And then if you want to shoot me an email, that's totally fine. It's Danielle at honeycoachingteam.com.
Awesome. I love it. Well, congratulations. And I can't wait to see like billboards everywhere with Honey on them.
Thank you.
You're doing it. And it's amazing.
I appreciate it. I am.
All right. Well, it was nice to meet you. And thank you for coming on.